Now, recently, I've had several requests to talk about this new terminology that has kind of entered into our everyday vocabulary known as the dad bod. Now, since I was not familiar with the terminology dad bod as a medical terminology, of course, I had to look it up. So when I looked up the definition of dad bod, here's what I found. I found dad bod actually referred to men who were not particularly muscular, had somewhat of a beer belly, a little paunchy belly, and some definitions actually used the phrase middle-aged men who were not particularly muscular with a paunchy belly. So much to my surprise, there was nothing about being a dad in this definition. So what might be actually going on with a dad bod? Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Eudene. I am a holistic medical strategist and a practicing integrative physician, and I'm here to help you get healthy your way. I want to keep this simple and relatively broad, but hopefully informative, right? So we are focusing on the morphology. We are focusing on what it looks like, but what does it feel like? What does it feel like? And for those of you who are experiencing it, I know you're going to recognize a lot of these signs and symptoms immediately. So it might feel like just extreme tiredness and fatigue and just lack of desire and motivation to do anything. It may feel like not being able to sleep well, or sometimes just wanting to sleep all the time. It may feel like having lower energy and not having the stamina to go and do the things that you like to do in the past. Maybe you were a gym rat. Maybe you like working out a lot, and now you kind of lost all desire for that. It may feel like foggy thinking and difficulty concentrating and focusing and decreased productivity, right? And it may definitely feel like decrease in your libido. So how I'm going to discuss this is what I call the 3 and 3 rule, right? I want to talk about potential contributing factors to this dad bod, what it might actually mean is going on, and some signs and symptoms to look out for. And finally, and most importantly, what can you do about it? So let's jump right in. So when we're talking about the body morphology, when they're talking about men who are not particularly muscular, developing a beer belly or a paunchy gut, if you will, what might be contributing to that? Another thing that a dad bod could actually mean is that you may be developing insulin resistance, right? So lack of activity, loss of muscle tone, accumulation of fat around the middle, which tends to be visceral fat, poor food choices, all of these things together can start you on a road to insulin resistance. And what that means is that the body now no longer starts handling sugar and insulin well, and that can start you on the road to developing diabetes type 2. So when this starts happening and you start seeing that paunchy gut and you start seeing the lack of muscle tone, because muscles actually play a significant role in helping to manage your blood sugars, in helping to make the body more responsive to insulin. So what all the above does is it can prematurely start lowering your other hormones, such as testosterone. And when your testosterone goes down, this starts really playing a role in moods, right? Because low testosterone or prematurely lower testosterone levels have been linked with depression or significantly low moods, right? And so what you now have is that kind of chasing the tail kind of reaction. So testosterone goes down, moods goes down. What happens is that we stop exercising. Testosterone plays a role in muscle strength. So we start losing muscle strength, we start losing muscle mass, we start losing energy. So again, it's that proverbial cat chasing its tail phenomenon. One feeds on the other. Another thing that may be happening with this dad bod situation, with the accumulation of fat around the middle, is that your inflammation can start going up. And we know that inflammation plays a significant role in increasing the risk for chronic illnesses. It shows up in your body as hormonal changes. So what happens is your stress hormones may start getting really, really elevated or high, and then that might ultimately affect your sex hormones, such as testosterone, for example. It shows up in the fact that you might start feeling depressed about all the life changes that are happening to you. And it shows up in the fact in other chemical imbalances as well. So some things that may start happening that you may not be aware of, at least physically, is that blood pressure might start creeping up, cholesterol levels may start creeping up, and then you start getting all of this other increased risk of chronic illnesses, and you definitely have noticed a lowered libido. And honestly, a lot of times you can try a little blue pill, but that's really not what's happening here. The underlying situation needs to be addressed. Otherwise, what starts happening is that blood flow starts getting compromised, right? And when blood flow starts getting compromised, it might be signaling there's some other things going on in the body as well. So you might really start being aware now of your heart health, which is really something that's important as well. You might really start worrying about your blood sugar levels, right? Because that may impact libido as well. Your stress levels obviously impact libido as well. So what can you do now? Like, what can you do about it? If you're identifying with any of these symptoms, what can you do about it? So here are some steps that you can take. The first step is recognizing it, Let's get out of denial. Let's pretend that there's not something going on, because that's oftentimes is a default mode that we tend to go to. There are a few males in my life that I have noticed that this happens to as well. And of course, my male patients, the default response is that I'm fine, everything is okay. And you want to always come across as strong and not really needing anything. But the truth of the matter is we're all human, male or female, and oftentimes we do need to be able to address what's going on. So this may be just a little bit more than you being a little out of shape, right? I have brothers, I have a husband, I have uncles, I have male patients. So I see the challenge it takes for them to ask for help. So I understand what a big deal this is, but I know you can do it, remember, because you're strong and resilient. The number 2 thing that you can do is get a checkup. Because in order to start changing things and navigate towards where you want to go to, you have to know where you are. You know this in business, you know this in about anything that you're trying to do or you're trying to accomplish. Acknowledging where you are allows you to get the information so you can gather the tools and the resources that you need to get you to where you want to be. So the things you want to look at your blood sugar levels, right? You want to look at your insulin levels. You want to look at your inflammatory marker in the body to see if there's inflammation going on. You do want to look at your testosterone levels, but here's the thing. We're not just going to fix testosterone levels and expect everything else to be fixed, because all of the other things that goes on with that also needs to be addressed as well. So that might be part of the solution, of course, and that level needs to be checked as well. You want to check your nutritional levels, because remember, you may have not been making the food choices that you would normally make. So you want to check things like your vitamin B12 level, because if that is down, then your energy is down, your thinking is down, the mental clarity is down. You want to check your vitamin D levels. And these are things that are relatively very easy to check. You want to check your cholesterol levels and your lipid levels as well, because you want to see if those are being impacted. You want to see if you are at risk for metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance. After you've gone and you've gotten this check, and you've gotten your checkup and you've checked all these levels and you know where you're starting from, that is one part. That is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation that needs to happen, guys, is that you really need to have a plan of action of how you're going to start managing those stress levels, because pretending they're not there, internalizing them, getting irritable and cranky and carrying all of that weight on your shoulders all alone is clearly not working. So you have to start asking yourself questions like, who can I talk to? Do I need a counselor? Is there a friend I can talk to? Is there a leader I can look up to? Is there a pastor or priest? You want to be able to have you want to be able to have a stress management strategy in place that you can utilize routinely. You need to start asking yourself questions like, do you need to make changes in your routine? Like, what is it that's really contributing, a significant contributing factor here? Do you need to change your workspace? Do you need to examine that the way that your work is currently organized? Do you need to examine your life space? Do you need professional guidance? What is it that you need at this point in time that would help you to maneuver this particularly stressful situation a little bit more successfully? And finally, you can sign up for my 28-day Rejuvenate and Recharge Challenge to get yourself back on track. Until then, this is Dr. Eudene. I really hope that this was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time.